Ambassador Kethvorin had served the unified Galactic Concord for over 300 years, and in all that time he had never received a transmission quite like this one. The message came from the Border Patrol fleet stationed at the edge of known space, and the fear in Commander Yesril's voice was something he had never heard before from such a decorated officer. "Ambassador, you need to see this," she said through the communication link. "We have detected a vessel emerging from the dead zone." Kethvorin felt his four hearts skip their rhythm at those words. The dead zone was a vast stretch of space that the Concorde had surveyed thousands of years ago and dismissed as worthless. There were no signs of intelligent life, no valuable resources, nothing but empty stars and barren worlds. Yet now something had come from that forgotten region, and whatever it was had the entire border fleet on high alert. He rushed to the command center of the diplomatic station, where massive holographic screens displayed the sensor data from the border. What he saw made him freeze in place. The ship was unlike anything in the Concorde's extensive database of known vessels, where every civilized species built their ships, with elegant curves and flowing lines that harmonized with the natural beauty of space. This craft was harsh and angular. Its hull was covered in flat plates of gray metal that bore scars and marks of damage. There were patches welded over holes, paint that had been stripped away by unknown forces, and strange protrusions that stuck out from the hull at odd angles. "What are those things on the outside of the ship?" Kethvorin asked one of his technical advisors. The advisor studied the scans with all six of his eyes before answering with clear confusion in his voice. "Ambassador, I believe those are weapons. External weapons mounted directly on the hull." "That cannot be correct," Kethvorin replied. "No species has used external weaponry in over 10,000 years. It is barbaric and inefficient." But the scans did not lie. This strange vessel bristled with what appeared to be rotating turrets, long tubes that could only be projectile launchers, and racks of cylindrical objects that the computer could not identify. High Commander Yesril appeared on the main screen, her insectoid features displaying the worry she clearly felt. "Ambassador, I am requesting permission to intercept. We cannot allow an unknown vessel to proceed deeper into Concorde territory." "Granted," Kethvorin said without hesitation. "Take a full diplomatic flotilla and make contact. Whoever these beings are, they must be primitive if they are still using such outdated technology. Show them our strength and they will surely submit to Concorde authority." Yesril's fleet moved into position within hours. 12 gleaming cruisers surrounded the strange angular vessel, their hulls shining with the golden light of their energy shields. Each cruiser was 3 times the size of the unknown ship, and together they represented enough firepower to devastate a small moon. The flotilla opened communication channels and broadcast greetings in every known language of the galaxy. They sent mathematical sequences, universal symbols of peace, and offers of friendship translated into over 2,000 tongues. For a long moment, there was only silence from the strange ship. Then a response came through, and the translation systems worked frantically to decode the alien language. It was crude and harsh, full of sharp sounds and hard consonants that seemed almost aggressive to Concorde ears. When the translation finally appeared on screen, Kethvorin read it 3 times because he could not believe what he was seeing. "This is the UN Defiance. State your intentions or clear our path." He stared at those words in complete disbelief. Here was a single ship, clearly primitive, surrounded by 12 advanced warships, and instead of surrendering or begging for mercy, it was demanding that they move. "Are these creatures insane?" one of the diplomatic staff asked. "Perhaps they simply do not understand their situation," another suggested. "They may not realize how outmatched they are." High Commander Yesril sent another message, explaining that the unknown vessel had entered sovereign Concorde space and must submit to inspection. She outlined the laws, the procedures, and the consequences for refusal. It was all very proper and civilized. The response from the strange ship came quickly this time. Negative. The Defiance does not submit to inspection by unknown parties. We are on a peaceful exploration mission, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. You have 1 hour to make your decision. Kathvorn could hardly believe what he was hearing. These primitive creatures were giving the Concorde an ultimatum. They were acting as though they were the ones in control of this situation. Who are these beings? He demanded. What species builds such ugly ships and speaks with such arrogance? His staff searched every database, every archive, every record of contact with other civilizations. They found nothing. This species had never been encountered before. Run their language through deeper analysis, Kathvorn ordered. Find out everything you can about them from how they speak. The linguistic computers worked for several minutes before producing their report, and what it contained made the ambassador's blood run cold. The language these creatures spoke was not the unified tongue of a peaceful civilization. It was a hybrid, a mixture of many different languages that had been forced together over time. The analysis suggested that this species had not one unified culture but many, and that these cultures had spent most of their history in conflict with each other. They are warriors, Kathvorn whispered. Their very language is built from the remnants of conquered peoples. But that was impossible. Every species in the galaxy had achieved peace before reaching the stars. War was something that primitive creatures engaged in before they became civilized. No spacefaring race still practiced such barbarism. Yet, the evidence was right in front of him. This ship called Defiance was not the product of a peaceful exploration program. It was a warship, built for combat, crewed by beings who had never known true peace. High Commander Yesrel's voice came through the communication link again. Ambassador, the hour is almost up. What are your orders? Kathvorn made his decision. These primitives needed to learn their place in the galaxy. The Concorde had maintained peace for thousands of years, and they would not be intimidated by one small ship with delusions of grandeur. Hold your position, he commanded. If they attempt to break through, activate suppression fields and disable their vessel. It is time these creatures learned what it means to face the unified Galactic Concorde. He had no way of knowing that this decision would change the galaxy forever. The Concorde was about to learn a very painful lesson about making assumptions, and the teachers of that lesson called themselves human. High Commander Yesreel watched the countdown timer with growing impatience as the final minutes ticked away. She had commanded fleets for over a century and had never encountered a species foolish enough to challenge Concorde authority. These strange creatures in their ugly little ship were about to learn a harsh lesson. All ships, activate suppression fields on my command, she ordered through the fleet communication network. Her tactical officer, a young Morvith with brilliant purple scales, confirmed that all 12 cruisers were ready. The suppression field was the Concorde's greatest peacekeeping tool, a technology that projected waves of energy designed to neutralize any known weapon system. It had ended countless conflicts without a single shot being fired. The timer reached 0. Activate suppression fields, Yesreel commanded. Blue light rippled out from each cruiser as the fields expanded to engulf the strange vessel. The energy washed over its scarred gray hull and penetrated deep into its systems. Any moment now, the alien ship would go dark as its weapons powered down and its engines fell silent. Yesreel waited for the confirmation from her tactical officer. Instead, she saw him staring at his console with all 4 of his eyes wide open in shock. Commander, he said in a trembling voice, the suppression field is having no effect. That is impossible, Yesreel replied. Run the diagnostics again. I have run them 3 times already, Morvith answered. The field is working perfectly. The problem is that their weapons are not responding to it. Yesril moved to the tactical station and studied the readings herself. What she saw made no sense at all. The suppression field was designed to disrupt the energy matrices that powered modern weapons. It interfered with plasma conduits, destabilized particle beams, and shut down fusion cores. But the weapons on this alien ship did not use energy matrices. They did not have plasma conduits or particle accelerators. According to the scans, their weapons operated on principles so primitive that the suppression field simply did not recognize them as weapons at all. What kind of technology is this? She demanded. Morvith pulled up the detailed analysis on the main screen. Commander, their primary weapons appear to be kinetic accelerators. They use chemical reactions to propel solid metal projectiles at high velocities. You mean they throw rocks? Yesril asked in disbelief. Essentially, yes, Commander. Very fast rocks. And those cylindrical objects we could not identify earlier appear to be explosive devices powered by nuclear fusion reactions. Yesril felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. Nuclear weapons had been banned by every civilized species for thousands of years. They were too destructive, too indiscriminate, too barbaric for any enlightened race to consider using. Yet this small ship carried what appeared to be dozens of them. How is this possible? She whispered, what kind of monsters would build such weapons? Before anyone could answer, the alien ship began to move. Its engines flared with a burst of light that was completely different from the gentle glow of Concorde graviton drives. Instead of smoothly accelerating, the vessel seemed to leap forward with violent force. The flames that poured from its engines were actual flames, the product of burning fuel rather than manipulated gravity. Track that ship! Yesril shouted. But the alien vessel was moving in ways that should have been impossible. It changed direction suddenly, spinning and twisting with sharp movements that would have killed any Concorde crew. The forces involved should have crushed organic bodies into paste. Commander, their acceleration rate is beyond anything in our records, Morvith reported with fear in his voice. They are experiencing over 15 times standard gravity. No known species can survive such forces. Then how are they still flying? Yesril demanded. I do not know, Commander. But they are not slowing down. The alien ship shot between two of Yesril's cruisers so fast that they barely had time to react. Its weapons turrets rotated to track them as it passed, a clear warning that it could have opened fire if it chose to. All ships pursue, Yesril ordered. Do not let them escape. But even as her fleet gave chase, she knew they could not match the alien vessel's speed. Their graviton drives were efficient and comfortable, but they were not designed for the kind of raw acceleration the strangers were demonstrating. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the alien ship, her communications officer announced. Put it through. A voice filled the command center, translated into Concorde Standard by the linguistic computers. It was a female voice, calm and controlled despite the violent maneuvers the ship was performing. This is Commander Sarah Chun of the United Earth Navy. Your attempt to disable our vessel has been noted and logged. We do not appreciate having weapons pointed at us. Stand down your fleet, and we can still resolve this peacefully. Yesril could hardly believe what she was hearing. This alien commander, this Chun, was still offering peace, even after the Concorde had tried to disable her ship. Any other species would have opened fire by now. You are in violation of Concorde law, Yesril responded. You must submit to our authority. Negative, Chun replied. We submit to no one. But we are not your enemy. We came here to explore, to make contact with other species, to learn about this region of space. We did not come looking for a fight. Then why do you carry such devastating weapons? Yesril demanded. There was a pause before Chun answered, and when she spoke again, her voice carried a weight of history that Yesril could not understand. Because we have learned through long and painful experience that the universe does not care about peaceful intentions. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst. Our weapons are not a threat to those who mean us no harm. But to those who would attack us, they are a promise. Yesril considered these words carefully. This species, these humans as they called themselves, were unlike anything the Concord had ever encountered. They built their ships for war, they carried forbidden weapons, and they could survive forces that would kill any other organic being. Yet they spoke of peace and exploration. They offered friendship even after being attacked. Commander Chun, Yesril said slowly, I am willing to discuss this matter further, but I must know more about your people. Where do you come from? How have you developed such unusual technology? We come from a world called Earth, Chun answered, and we would be happy to tell you about ourselves. But first, I need your fleet to lower their weapons. We will not fire unless fired upon, but we also will not negotiate while guns are pointed at our heads. Yesril made a decision that went against every protocol she had ever learned. She ordered her fleet to stand down. Thank you, Commander, Chun said. Now let me tell you a little about humanity. Fair warning, though, most species find our history somewhat disturbing. As Yesril listened to what came next, she understood that was quite possibly the biggest understatement she had ever heard. Ambassador Kethvorin sat in the Great Hall of the Concord Council as the data scrolled across dozens of holographic screens. Every member of the High Assembly had gathered to review the information that Commander Chun had provided about her species and their homeworld. What they learned filled them with a terror they had never known before. This cannot be accurate, Councillor Proleth said in a shaking voice. These readings must be corrupted. We have verified them 7 times, the Chief Science Advisor replied. The data is accurate. The planet they call Earth is a genuine death world. The term sent whispers of fear through the assembled representatives. Death worlds were planets so hostile to life that evolution should have been impossible. They existed in theory, but no species had ever emerged from one. Until now. The environmental data painted a picture of horror. Earth's temperature could swing from frozen ice to burning heat, depending on the location and season. The planet's crust was unstable, constantly shifting and cracking, releasing toxic gases and causing devastating earthquakes. Massive storms regularly swept across its surface with winds that could destroy entire cities. And that was just the geology. The biology of Earth was even more terrifying. The planet was home to millions of species, and most of them had evolved to kill and eat each other. Predators with sharp teeth and claws hunted prey through forests and oceans. Tiny creatures invisible to the eye invaded the bodies of larger animals and destroyed them from within. Plants produced poisons to kill anything that tried to eat them. Even the smallest drop of water could contain thousands of organisms fighting for survival. How did anything survive on such a world? One counselor asked. The science advisor brought up images of various Earth creatures. They were massive beasts with armored skin and crushing jaws. They were sleek hunters with eyes designed to see in darkness. There were swarms of insects that could strip flesh from bone in minutes. Life on Earth did not just survive, the advisor explained. It engaged in constant warfare. Every creature evolved to either kill efficiently or avoid being killed. The competition was so intense that only the most adaptable and resilient species lasted more than a few million years. And the humans? Councillor Pryleth asked. The advisor changed the display to show the human species. They looked so ordinary at first glance, so unremarkable compared to the monsters that shared their world. They had no claws or fangs, no armored skin, no venomous stingers. Humans evolved from prey animals, the advisor said. They were not the strongest or fastest creatures on their world, but they had something no other Earth species possessed in such abundance: intelligence combined with endurance. The screens showed images from human history, and the council watched in horrified fascination. Humans could not outrun their predators, so they learned to track them instead. They would follow a prey animal for days without rest, never stopping, never giving up, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. This is called persistence hunting, and humans are the only species in the known galaxy that developed this strategy. They ran their prey to death? Kefvorin said in disbelief. Yes, Ambassador. The human body is uniquely designed for sustained effort over long periods. They can regulate their temperature through sweating. They can carry food and water with them, and their minds allow them to maintain focus on a single goal for weeks or months or even years. The display changed again to show humans working together in groups. They were building tools, creating weapons, developing strategies. Even in these ancient images, their intelligence was obvious. Once humans discovered they could think better than other animals, they became unstoppable. They made weapons to kill from a distance. They built shelters to survive the harsh weather. They tamed fire and used it to cook food, to stay warm, and to drive away predators. But surely they achieved peace once they dominated their world? A counselor asked hopefully. The silence that followed that question was answer enough. Humans never stopped fighting, the advisor said quietly. They simply changed who they fought against. When they ran out of predators to defeat, they turned on each other. The screens filled with images of human warfare throughout history. Stone weapons gave way to metal swords. Swords gave way to explosive projectiles. Cities burned and empires fell as humans perfected the art of killing each other across thousands of years. We estimate that humans have fought over 15,000 wars among themselves since their species developed civilization, the advisor reported. Conservative estimates suggest that over 1 billion humans have died in these conflicts. The council sat in stunned silence. 1 billion deaths from internal warfare alone. It was a number beyond comprehension. How is this possible? Ambassador Kefvorin finally asked, how can any species survive such self-destruction? Because humans do not just survive, Ambassador. They adapt. Every war taught them new lessons. Every conflict pushed them to develop new technologies. Their weapons became more powerful, their tactics more sophisticated, their soldiers more resilient. By the time they reached for the stars, they had spent 10,000 years perfecting the science of warfare. The science advisor brought up the final piece of data, and this was perhaps the most disturbing of all. The ship we encountered, the Defiance, is not a warship by human standards. It is classified as a patrol vessel, meant for border security and light combat. According to the data Commander Chum provided, Earth maintains a fleet of over 300 dedicated warships, some of them over 2 kilometers in length. 300 warships. The entire Concord Navy consisted of fewer than 50 combat vessels, and those had not seen real action in over 1,000 years. These humans, Counselor Perlith said slowly, they did not develop space travel to explore. They developed it to find new things to fight. Not entirely, the advisor corrected. They are also curious and creative and capable of great kindness. But they never forgot how to be dangerous. They never allowed themselves to become weak. In their own words, they hope for peace, but they prepare for war. Ambassador Kefvorin stood and addressed the council. We have spent millennia believing that civilization means leaving violence behind. We suppressed our warrior instincts because we thought that was the path to enlightenment. But these humans prove that another path exists. He gestured at the screens, showing the battered hull of the Defiance. They embraced their violent nature and learned to control it. They turned their capacity for destruction into a tool for survival. And now they have emerged from their death world, ready to face whatever the universe throws at them. The council chamber fell silent as everyone contemplated what this meant. The galaxy had just discovered that peace through strength was not just a philosophy, but a reality, and humanity was its ultimate expression. Admiral Thexis refused to believe the reports. He was the most decorated military commander in the Concorde fleet, a veteran of 3 border conflicts and the suppression of 2 minor rebellions. He had seen species rise and fall, had watched civilizations crumble before the might of Concorde technology. The idea that one primitive ship could threaten that dominance was absurd. These humans are being romanticized, he declared to his staff. The Council has let fear cloud their judgment. I will show them what happens when savages challenge a real military force. Against the explicit orders of the Concorde Council, Admiral Thexis assembled a war fleet of 200 vessels. He gathered every combat-capable ship within range, from massive dreadnoughts to nimble interceptors. It was a display of power that had not been seen in living memory. We will intercept the human vessel before it reaches the inner systems, Thexis announced. We will give them one chance to surrender. When they refuse, we will demonstrate the consequences of defying the Concorde. The fleet jumped through space and emerged directly in the path of the defiance. 200 ships formed a wall of gleaming metal and shimmering shields, blocking any possibility of escape. The combined firepower of this armada could crack a planet in half. Admiral Thexis opened the communication channel and broadcast his ultimatum. Attention, human vessel. You are surrounded by the full might of the Concorde Navy. Surrender immediately or you will be destroyed. This is your only warning. The response came from Commander Chun. And to the shock of everyone on the Concorde flagship, she was laughing. 200 ships for little old us? She said between chuckles. I have to admit, Admiral, I am flattered. But I should warn you that we have been in worse situations. Much worse. You cannot possibly win this fight, Thexis replied with contempt in his voice. Surrender now and I may show mercy. Mercy? Chun's voice turned cold as ice. Let me tell you something about humans, Admiral. We were born on a world that showed us no mercy. We survived ice ages. That froze our ancestors solid. We survived plagues that killed 9 out of every 10 people. We survived predators and famines and natural disasters that should have wiped us out 100 times over. Her voice grew harder with every word. And then we survived each other. Thousands of years of war taught us one simple truth. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight until we win or we die trying. So if you want this ship, you come and take it. Admiral Thexis cut the channel and gave the order to attack. 200 Concorde ships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of plasma and bursts of accelerated particles streaked across space toward the small human vessel. It was enough energy to vaporize a mountain. But the Defiance was no longer where it had been. The human ship moved with impossible speed, its engines blazing with raw power. It spun and twisted through the incoming fire, dodging shots that should have been impossible to avoid. The few hits that landed splashed against its hull, but failed to penetrate the thick metal armor. How are they doing that? Thexis demanded. His tactical officer was staring at the sensors with disbelief. Admiral, they are pulling maneuvers at over 20 times standard gravity. Their entire crew should be dead from the forces alone. But the humans were not dead. They were fighting back. The Defiance opened fire with its kinetic weapons, and the effect was devastating. Concorde shields were designed to dissipate energy attacks, to absorb and redirect plasma and particle beams. They had no defense against solid projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed. The first cruiser took a dozen hits and crumpled like paper. Metal tore and systems exploded as the kinetic rounds punched through shields, through armor, through everything in their path. The ship broke apart in seconds. Impossible, Thexis screamed. But it was happening. The Defiance was carving a path through his fleet, and nothing could stop it. The human ship did not fight like any vessel Thexus had ever seen. It did not maintain distance and exchange careful shots. It charged directly into the heart of the formation, getting so close that the larger Concorde ships could not bring their weapons to bear without hitting each other. Nuclear missiles launched from the Defiance and detonated in the middle of tightly packed squadrons. The explosions overwhelmed sensors, blinded targeting systems, and damaged dozens of ships at once. The Concorde fleet began to fall apart as captains panicked and broke formation. Then came the moment that would be remembered for centuries. A direct hit from a Concorde dreadnought finally penetrated the Defiance's armor. The plasma beam tore through 3 decks, opening the ship to the vacuum of space. Atmosphere vented in great plumes of frozen gas. Any other vessel would have been crippled. The Defiance kept fighting. Sensors on the Concorde flagship detected something incredible. Human crew members in bulky protective suits were climbing out onto the hull of their own ship. They were exposed to the vacuum of space, to the radiation of battle, to the freezing cold of the void. And they were repairing the damage. With nothing but hand tools and metal plates, the humans sealed the breach while their ship continued its deadly dance through the Concorde fleet. They welded patches over the holes, restored atmospheric integrity, and crawled back inside to return to their stations. They walked into space. Thexus whispered with horror in his voice. They just walked into space and fixed their ship. Commander Chun's voice crackled across all frequencies, and every Concorde ship heard her words. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and each other. Your fleet is nothing special, Admiral. Just another Tuesday. The battle lasted 3 more hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. When it finally ended, 63 Concorde warships had been destroyed or disabled. The mighty fleet that Admiral Thexus had assembled lay scattered across space in pieces. Thousands of Concorde soldiers were dead, and thousands more drifted in escape pods waiting for rescue. The Defiance limped through the wreckage, its hull scarred and burned, atmosphere leaking from a dozen small wounds. It had taken more damage in this one battle than most ships suffered in their entire service lives. But it was still moving, still fighting, still refusing to die. Admiral. Thexus sat in his command chair on the crippled flagship and gave the order he never thought he would give. All ships, retreat, full withdrawal, get us out of here. As the surviving Concorde vessels fled, Commander Chun sent one final message. Tell your council we are coming to talk. And this time, I suggest they listen. The first true battle between humanity and the galaxy had ended. Humanity had won. The unified Galactic Concorde convened an emergency session unlike any in its 12,000-year history. Every representative from every member species had gathered in the great assembly hall, their faces showing a mixture of fear and confusion that had never before been seen in this place of calm diplomacy. The news of Admiral Thexus's defeat had spread across the galaxy in hours, and the implications were still sinking in. One ship, Councilor Proleth said to the silent assembly, one small patrol vessel destroyed 63 of our warships and sent the rest fleeing in terror. One ship. Ambassador Kefvoren rose to address the council, his normally steady voice trembling slightly. The humans have made their position clear. They do not wish to conquer us, but they will not be conquered either. They are willing to negotiate, but only as equals. The question before us now is simple. Do we continue to fight a war we cannot win, or do we find another path? The debate that followed was heated and desperate. Some called for total mobilization, for the gathering of every ship in Concorde space to overwhelm the humans through sheer numbers. Others argued for retreat, for abandoning the outer territories and building defenses around the core worlds. But the wisest among them understood that neither option would work. The humans had proven that their technology, primitive as it seemed, was actually a perfect counter to everything the Concorde had developed. Their kinetic weapons bypassed energy shields. Their nuclear devices overwhelmed defensive systems. Their ability to survive extreme conditions made them nearly impossible to kill. And worst of all, the Defiance was just one ship. Human space contained hundreds more, crewed by billions of individuals who had spent their entire evolutionary history learning how to fight and survive. "We must negotiate." Ambassador Cathvoran declared, "It is our only option." The council voted, and the decision was unanimous. Cathvoran would travel to meet with Commander Chun and attempt to forge some kind of peace. The future of the entire Concorde rested on his success. He found the Defiance holding position at the edge of the debris field that had once been Admiral Thex's fleet. The human ship was badly damaged, its hull covered in scorch marks and patched repairs. Yet it still maintained a defensive posture, its weapons trained on the approaching diplomatic shuttle. "Ambassador Cathvoran," Commander Chun's voice came through the communication system. "You may dock in Airlock 7. Please understand that you will be searched for weapons. Nothing personal, but we have had a difficult few days." The interior of the Defiance was nothing like the elegant spaces Cathvoran was used to. The corridors were narrow and functional, every surface covered in pipes and cables and control panels. The air smelled of burned metal and recycled oxygen. Human crew members moved past him with tired but determined expressions, many of them sporting bandages and bruises from the recent battle. Commander Chun met him in a small room that served as a conference area. She was a small woman by human standards, with dark hair pulled back from a face lined with fatigue. But her eyes were sharp and alert, watching him with the careful attention of a predator assessing potential prey. "Please sit," she said, gesturing to a simple metal chair. "I apologize for the accommodations. Our ship has seen better days." Cathvoran lowered himself into the uncomfortable seat and studied this human warrior who had defied an entire fleet. "Commander Chun, I have come to discuss the terms of a possible peace between our peoples. The Concorde is prepared to offer significant concessions in exchange for an end to hostilities." Chun listened to his offers with an unreadable expression. Territory, trade rights, technological exchanges, all the things that usually resolved conflicts between civilizations. When he finished, she shook her head slowly. "Ambassador, you are still not understanding us. We do not want your territory. We do not want your technology. We did not come here looking for conquest." "Then what do you want?" Cathvoran asked in genuine confusion. "We want to know we are not alone," Chum replied softly. "For thousands of years, humans have looked up at the stars and wondered if there was anyone else out there. We have dreamed of meeting other intelligent species, of learning about other cultures, of becoming part of a larger community. When we finally developed the technology to reach other stars, we came in peace." Her expression hardened, but we also came prepared. Our history has taught us that good intentions are not enough. We have been betrayed too many times to trust blindly. So yes, we brought weapons. Yes, we built our ship to fight, because we knew that the universe might not welcome us with open arms. She leaned forward and looked directly into his eyes. "Your people proved us right, Ambassador. You surrounded us and tried to disable our ship. When that failed, you sent 200 warships to destroy us. We defended ourselves, nothing more." Cathvoran felt a deep shame wash over him. Everything she said was true. The Concorde had treated the humans as primitives to be controlled, and the humans had responded exactly as their history said they would. "What would you have us do?" he asked quietly. Chen's expression softened slightly. "We want to join your Concorde, Ambassador. Not as a subject species to be managed, but as equal partners. We have much to offer. Our technology may seem primitive, but it works in ways yours does not. Our soldiers can fight in conditions that would kill any of your people. And our scientists are very curious about all the things your species have discovered." She paused and her voice grew serious. "But there is another reason we want to work with you. Our long-range sensors have detected something at the far edge of the galaxy. Something that is moving toward populated space. Something that our analysts believe may be a threat to all of us." Kathvorn felt his heart freeze. "What kind of threat?" "We are not sure yet," Chun admitted. "But whatever it is big. And it is coming. We believe that when it arrives, it will not care whether its victims are human or Concord or anything else. It will simply destroy." She stood and extended her hand in what Kathvorn had learned was a human gesture of agreement. "Your people have been at peace for thousands of years, Ambassador. That is wonderful, truly. But peace has made you forget how to fight. We have not forgotten. Let us work together. Let us share our knowledge. Let us prepare for whatever is coming, so that when it arrives, we face it as allies rather than enemies." Kathvorn looked at this small human woman who had defeated 200 warships and was now offering her hand in friendship. He understood that he was witnessing a turning point in galactic history. He reached out and took her hand. "On behalf of the unified Galactic Concord, Commander Chun, I accept your offer of alliance." Chun smiled, and for the first time since he had met her, she looked genuinely happy. "Then let me be the first to welcome you to the human family, Ambassador. We take care of our own." And in that moment, the galaxy changed forever. The humans had arrived, not as conquerors, but as protectors. They had shown that sometimes the most civilized thing a species could do was remember how to fight. Whatever was coming from the darkness between stars, it would not find the galaxy helpless. Because now, the galaxy had humanity on its side.